Chapter 42. We have a pre-decapitation party with egg rolls. Crashing at Blitzen's apartment was the high point of our trip. Not that that was saying much. Blitz rented the third floor of a row house across the street from Svartalf Mart. Yes, that's a real thing. Considering the fact that he was due to be decapitated the next day, he was a good host. He apologized for not cleaning up, though the place looked spotless to me, microwaved some egg rolls, and brought out a liter of Diet Sergeant Pepper and a six-pack of Falaris foaming mead, each bottle uniquely handcrafted in a different color of glass. His furniture was spare but stylish, an L-shaped sofa and two space-aged armchairs. They probably had names and were famous among the living room furniture, but Blitzen didn't introduce them. Neatly arranged on the coffee table was a spread of dwarf men's fashion and interior design magazines. While Sam and Hearth sat with Blitz trying to console him, I paced the room. I felt angry and guilty that I'd put Blitzen in such a tight spot. He'd already risked enough for me. He'd spent 2 years on the streets, watching out for me when he could have been here, kicking back with egg rolls and foaming mead. He tried to protect me by attacking the Lord of the Fire Giants with a toy sign. Now he was going to lose his head in a craft-off with an evil senior citizen. Also, the dwarven philosophy of crafting had unsettled me. In Midgard, most things were breakable, replaceable junk. I'd lived off of that junk for 2 years, picking through what most people discarded, finding bits I could use or sell, or at least make a fire with. I wonder what it would be like living in Nidavellir, where every item was crafted to be a lifetime work of art, right down to your cup or your chair. It might get annoying to have to recite the deeds of your shoes before you put them on in the morning, but at least you'd know they were amazing shoes. I wondered about the Sword of Summer. Freya told me to befriend it. She implied that the weapon had thoughts and feelings. Every crafted item has a soul, Blitz had told me. Maybe I hadn't properly introduced myself. Maybe I needed to treat the sword like another companion. Blitz, you must have a specialty, Samira was saying. What did you study in trade school? Fashion, Blitzen sniffed. I designed my own degree program, but clothing isn't a recognized craft. They'll expect me to hammer molten ingots or tinker with machinery. I'm no good at that. You are, Hearth signed. Not under pressure, Blitz said. I don't get it, I said. Why does the loser have to die? And how do they decide the winner? Blitzen stared at the cover of Dwarf Quarterly. New looks for spring, 100 uses for warg leather. Each contestant makes 3 items. They can be anything. At the end of the day, the judges rate each item according to its usefulness, beauty, quality, or whatever. They can assign points any way they wish. The contestant with the most overall points wins. The other guy dies. You must not have a lot of competitions, I said, if the loser always gets decapitated. That's the traditional wager, Blitz said. Most people don't insist on it anymore. Junior's old-fashioned. Also, he hates me. Something about Fenris Wolf and your dad? Hearth shook his head to shut me up, but Blitzen patted his knee. It's okay, buddy. They deserve to know. Blitz leaned back on the sofa. He seemed suddenly calmer about his impending doom, which I found unsettling. I kind of wanted him to be punching walls. I told you dwarven items are made for life, he said. Well, lifetime for a dwarf can mean hundreds of years. I studied Blitz's beard, wondering if he dyed out the gray whiskers. How old are you? 20, Blitz said, but Junior, he's going on 500. His dad, Itre, was one of the most famous craftsmen in dwarfsman history. He lived over 1,000 years, made some of the gods' most important items. Samira nibbled on an egg roll. Even I've heard of him. He's in the old stories. He made Thor's hammer. Blitz nodded. Anyway, the rope, Gleipnir, you could argue it was his most important work, even more than Thor's hammer. The rope keeps Fenris Wolf from getting free and starting Doomsday. Okay, I'm with you so far, I said. The thing is, the rope was a rush job. The gods were clamoring for help. They'd already tried to bind Fenris with 2 massive chains. They knew their window of opportunity was closing. The wolf was getting stronger and wilder by the day. Pretty soon he'd be uncontrollable. So, Eitri, well, he did his best. Obviously the rope was held together this long, but 1,000 years is a long time, even for a dwarfen rope. Especially when the strongest wolf in the universe is straining against it day and night. My dad, Billy, was a great rope maker. He spent years trying to convince Junior that Gleipnir needed to be replaced. Junior wouldn't hear of it. Junior said he went to the Wolf's Island from time to time to inspect the rope, and he swore Gleipnir was fine. He thought my dad was insulting his family's reputation. Finally, my dad... Blitz's voice cracked. Hearthstone sign, you don't have to tell. I'm okay. Blitzen cleared his throat. Junior used all of his influence to turn people against my dad. Our family lost business. Nobody would buy Bilai's crafts. Finally, Dad went to the island of Lingvi himself. He wanted to check the rope, proving that it needed replacing. He never came back. Months later, a dwarf patrol found. He looked down and shook his head. Hearthstone signed clothes, ripped, washed up on shore. Eva Samira was catching up on the sign language. She got the general idea. She put her fingertips to her mouth. Blitz, I am so sorry. Well, he shrugged listlessly. Now you know. Junior is still holding a grudge. My dad's death wasn't enough. He wants to shame and kill me, too. I set my drink on the coffee table. Blitz, I think I speak for all of us when I say that Junior can shove his granny shuffler. Magnus, Sam warned. What? The old dwarf needs to be decapitated in the worst way. What can we do to help Blitz win the contest? I appreciate it, kid. Blitz struggled to his feet. But there's nothing I'll... If you'll excuse me. He staggered to his bedroom and shut the door behind him. Samira pursed her lips. She still had a twig of Yggdrasil sticking out of her coat pocket. Is there any chance Junior isn't that good? I mean, he's very old now, isn't he? Hearthstone unwrapped a scarf and threw it on the couch. He wasn't doing well in the darkness of Nidavellir. The green veins on his neck stood out more than usual. His hair floated with static, like plant tendrils searching for sunlight. Junior is very good. He made a sign like ripping a piece of paper in half and throwing away the pieces. Hopeless. I felt like throwing bottles of Fayard's foaming mead out the window. But Blitz can craft, right? Or were you just being encouraging? Hearth rose. He walked to the sideboard along the dining room wall. I hadn't paid the table that much attention, but Hearth pressed something onto its surface, a hidden switch, I guess, and the tabletop opened like a clamshell. The underside of the top section was one big light panel. It flickered to life, glowing warm and golden. A tanning bed? As soon as I said that, the truth sank in. When you first came to Nidavellir, Blitzen saved your life. That's how. He made a way for you to get sunlight. Hearth nodded. First time I used runes for magic. Mistake. I dropped into Nidavellir. Almost died. Blitzen, he can craft. Kind and smart. But no good under pressure. Contest? No. Sam hugged her knees. So what do we do? Do you have any magic that will help? Hearth hesitated. Some. We'll use before contest. Not enough. I translated for Sam and then asked, what can I do? Protect him, Hearth signed. Junior will try sabotage. Sabotage? I frowned. Isn't that cheating? I've heard about this, Sam said. In Dwarfen contests, you can mess with your competitor as long as you aren't caught. The interference has to look like an accident, or at least something that the judges can't trace back to you. But it sounds like Junior doesn't need to cheat to win. He will cheat. Hearth made a sign like a hook swinging into a latch. Spite. Okay, I said, I'll keep Blitz safe. Still not enough. Hearth peered at Sam. Only way to win. Mess with Junior. When I told Sam what he'd signed, she turned as gray as a dwarf in sunlight. No. She wagged her finger at Hearth. No, absolutely not. I told you. Blitz will die, Hearth signed. You did it before. What's he talking about? I asked. What did you do before? She got to her feet. The tension in the room was suddenly at DEFCON 2. Hearthstone, you said you wouldn't mention it. You promised. She faced me, her expression shutting down any further questions. Excuse me, I need some air. She stormed out of the apartment. I stared at Hearthstone. What was that? His shoulders slumped. His face was empty, drained of hope. He signed, a mistake. Then he climbed onto his sunbed and turned toward the light, his body casting a wolf-shaped shadow across the floor.